Right now, the day's biggest news stories from a Vegas perspective. This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro.
All right, what's up, Vegas? It is good to be back. Sharp and Shapiro live at you on a Monday. Hope everybody had a fantastic Turkey Day and Thanksgiving. I hope everybody got fat like me. It's good to be back, though, man. It's good to be back here in studio across the table. My co-host, of course, JD Sharp. Had a fun vacation, but it is back to work. Back at it, man. And we have a lot to talk about, a lot to go over. News, politics, teachers going on racist rants. You name it, we've got it today. We even get as far as talking a little Kid Rock action.
Bet a lot of sports.
You know, it's funny you mentioned sports because I take a vacation. And within 48 hours of my vacation, I find out UNLV's head coach is going to be fired. And I assumed, and we're talking football, obviously. I'm not talking T.J. Otzelberger. Although if he keeps going the way he's going, it might not last very long either.
He did beat Jackson State.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll get to that in a little bit, but let's focus on the football first. So, yeah, they announced Francois. She just does things that I just don't understand. Then again, that's the entire UNLV athletic department over the course of the last 20 years I've been here. She decides to announce that they're letting Tony Sanchez, the football coach, go, basically 2 weeks before the season ends, which makes absolutely no sense to me why you wouldn't wait till the end of the year and the most important game of the year against Nevada Reno. It's completely asinine. It doesn't make any sense. So I was not surprised that they fired him because I thought that was the right thing to do, but to do it 2 weeks before the season ends to me is just absolutely and utterly ridiculous. So that happens. And Tony Sanchez, they beat Nevada over the weekend, and it was a good game. It went down to the wire. It's nice that they beat their in-state rival, but it was only their fourth win of the season. So can we stop making it out to be like they just won a bowl game? They were not even close to being bowl eligible. It was another embarrassing season where they had a couple really, really embarrassing losses. The bottom line is Tony Sanchez didn't get it done, okay? He just didn't get it done. So what do? By the way, I really don't read articles in the Review Journal. I think I read a few articles during the Dave Rice era when they were talking UNLV basketball. I honestly have not read one Review Journal article in probably close to a decade. So my producer comes up to me and he says, Brian, did you see this article that Ed Graney wrote about UNLV football? I said, oh, no. What did he say? Because I've always considered Ed Graney to be an ass kisser. Okay, I'm not going to sit here and lie and say something that I don't believe. Ed Graney is an ass kisser, and I believe him to be a buffoon. And I'll explain why in a moment. But he writes this article about Tony Sanchez because I would imagine he was at the game at Reno, and he's covering Tony Sanchez's last game in the Tony Sanchez era. The front of the article says, a strong goodbye. So it's almost like he wrote a sad novel. Like a romantic novel. So I want to read you some passages from the Ed Graney article. Tony Sanchez, the final image at UNLV is one of triumph and closure. Brought to you by Ed Graney of the Las Vegas Journal, or Junior, whatever you want to call them. Here we go. He ran across the rigid turf, made even more unforgiving by the bitter cold. His arms... Stop laughing, JD. You're going to make me laugh. I'm going to start over now. Stop laughing. Stop laughing. I'm not going to be able to get through this. Stop. All right. Johnny, start over. JD keeps laughing. And I can't.
Right. I am done laughing.
This is serious, JD. Knock it off. Tony Sanchez's final image as UNLV is one of triumph and closure. This article brought to you by Ed Graney from the Las Vegas Review Junior. I'm going to call it the Junior. He ran across the rigid turf, made even more unforgiving by the bitter cold. His arms raised high in triumph and a smile of joy and closure spread wide. Tony Sanchez stopped long enough to remove his headset. He then exhaled into one of countless hugs to greet him for the next hour or so. There was a trace of water in Sanchez's eyes afterwards, perhaps from the cold weather, perhaps from the magnitude of the moment. He did everything but win at UNLV. Okay, stop it. Stop the music for a second. I will go back and I will read through this whole thing again. But I am so angry at that comment, Johnny, hang on a second, okay? He did everything but win, you buffoon. What are you talking about? He did everything but win. First of all, what is the most important thing a coach should do at the Division I football level? It's winning, you idiot. He didn't win, but he did everything else. Really? That's like saying you're married to your wife. Your wife was fantastic. She did everything, but she wasn't faithful. She did everything, but she wasn't faithful to you. So what are we supposed to celebrate that? By the way, did he get fans in the stands? Did he? He did everything but win, though, right? Did he recruit? Did he get quality football players to win here? No, he didn't. What a ridiculous thing to say. What an ass kisser this guy Ed Graney is, okay? In 2015, and by the way, I like Tony Sanchez, all right? So don't give me this crap, oh, you're just trashing him, you're doing this, you're doing. There is a way that you can actually do your job, okay? And by the way, Ed Graney probably does everything great in his life but write good articles, okay? I'll say that. There is a way that you can like a coach and have a personal relationship with a coach, but be honest. Clearly, Ed Graney can't do that. In 2015, Tony Sanchez was 3-9. They got embarrassed by Northern Illinois, one of their wonderful losses. Hold on with the music. Hang on a second. I'm not reading the article yet, Johnny. Hang on. Don't jump the gun. In 2016, they had an embarrassing loss to Idaho. They went 4-8. In 2017, they had one of the biggest upsets in college football gambling point spread history. The year they went 5-7, by the way. That was Tony Sanchez's best year, 5-7. They lost to Howard at home. In 2018, they went 4-8. They went on a 6-game losing streak. And then this past year, do you remember that ridiculous, embarrassing loss at home to Arkansas State where many thought that was a must-win, and they go 4-8. What do you mean he did everything but win?
And to give you an idea of how big of a loss that Howard game was, it was the worst. I mean, they were a 54-point favorite. They lost the game outright. Maryland went 4-8 this year. They beat Howard 79-0.
Yeah.
That's how big of a loss Howard was.
And by the way, I understand that he created, these facilities through the Fertitta situation. And I understand that people like Ed Graney want to make that case. Is it a good thing that the UNLV facilities are much better now than they were before? Sure. But it's because of the Fertittas being billionaires. It's because they have a lot of money and they donate to programs.
And if Tony has those type of friends, let's give him a shot at AD.
I don't have a problem with that. You know what? I'd probably be more comfortable because I like Tony Sanchez. I think he's a nice guy. He's a good guy. He's always been great to us. I'm not trying to trash the guy.
He's nice. He doesn't make excuses. He's straightforward. He's honest. He wasn't put in a position to be successful considering he was a high school coach who had all the talent in the world, who never had to make second half adjustments, who never had to come from behind. Yeah. And you put him in a situation like this, he just was not upset. He was not set up for success.
And we'll get to all that in a second, but I want to continue on this Ed Graney rant that I'm going on right now because this guy has a history of kissing the ass of certain people that he has relationships with. He did the exact same thing with Dave Rice with the basketball program. These are people that cover the local teams that you watch, although not many people have been watching UNLV football lately. That is Ed Graney's comment. He did everything but win. The attendance for UNLV has continued to drop. It has been pathetic. Tony Sanchez and his staff, with all due respect, did a pathetic job recruiting. A guy that has those type of connections to high school football players was a coach at Bishop Gorman. He did not recruit at a high level. Stop it with this nonsense that he did everything but win. It is the dumbest comment I've ever heard in my life. If you want to talk about the facilities at UNLV and you want to talk about that stuff, fine. But stop making excuses for the fact that, and Ed Grady's been one of those guys that you should bring him back. He said that. He said that. On the radio, he has said that. It is ridiculous. And this is the guy that's writing articles. I mean, I don't understand it. I don't understand. It's one thing to have an opinion, right? But back up your opinions. And when he writes an article, a love story, that's what I would call it, and he says, Tony Sanchez did everything but win. Why don't you give us those reasons? What is the everything that he did? And don't you give me this crap about grade point averages, because it's all said and done. Fans don't really care about the grade point average of the football players. Sadly, they don't. And boosters don't really care about if your starting quarterback is getting straight A's. You know what a booster, for the most part, cares about? Wins and losses. That is what this is all about. Wins and losses. You know what I'm going to do with Ed Graney's article? I'm going to tell you what, I ran out of toilet paper this morning. I was going to use Ed Graney's article in the Review Journal as toilet paper. I was going to wipe it with my ass, because that's how bad this article is. But I didn't do it because I thought it might hurt. I thought it might physically harm me, so I used toilet paper instead. Great article, Ed. Great job. Great job. Anyway, now let's get on to UNLV Athletics and the mistakes I believe they had made. And, JD, you alluded to this a little bit. Okay? Start with this. Let's go back 10 years or so. Lon Kruger was and I'm going to go basketball here. Lon Kruger was a fantastic coach here, and the biggest mistake they made since I've been here is letting Lon Kruger go and not paying him. Not paying him on what he deserved. So what do? They hire Dave Rice to the basketball program, who ruined the program. A guy who's never been a head coach before at the college level. The UNLV basketball program suffered. Eventually, Dave Rice is fired. They fire him mid-season because Tina Kunzer-Murphy had no idea what she was doing. And I don't think I'm wrong on that. I think she's still a paid employee at UNLV. Why, I don't know. Then they fire Dave Rice, and they couldn't hire another coach. The one coach that they did hire for a week who would have been fantastic here was Coach Beard over there at Texas Tech. That was a good hire, and they were unlucky. So they hire a guy 7th or 8th in line, Marvin Menzies. Boy, did that work out great. Another guy who is never won at a high level. He won in the WAC. What does that mean? Nothing. And that's the guy you want to run your UNLV basketball program? You're averaging 2,000 or 3,000 fans at games? It's ridiculous. And now you hire TJ Otzelberger. TJ Otzelberger, I hope it works out for him. He seems like a nice guy. He's been very nice to us. Boy, is he off to a bad start. 3-6. You look at the UNLV football program. They got rid of Sanford. They bring in a guy by the name of Bobby Houck, who had never been a head coach at the D1 level. He came in here. He got them to a bowl game. Had a bad year. The following year, they let him go. That didn't work out. Then they hire a high school football coach. You might as well have hired a varsity basketball coach to take over the UNLV program if you were going to do that too. Let's just hire a bunch of high school coaches. But here's the thing that doesn't make sense to me, and I hope I'm wrong on this, and I hope that TJ Otzelberger succeeds. I really do. I don't know if he will. I have a lot of concerns. TJ Otzelberger won at South Dakota State with one of the best offensive players in the country. To me, that is not a proven winner. That is my opinion. And the real true key to this will be year 3, when TJ Otzelberger has all of his own players. Some of these players are still Marvin Menzies guys, and I think you'll have a better year next year. But boy, are they off to a bad start. So for those of you that say, and I don't necessarily disagree with you, that Francois, the athletic director at UNLV, is going to be looking to go somewhere else, is looking to, move up in the ranks. She better do something here. She better do something positive here. And let me tell you something, offering students free tacos is not the answer. And that was one of her, moving the student section behind the basket is all said and nice, but you probably need more than 30 students showing up to games. This is her mark. This is her responsibility now. It all lies on her. Because clearly what I've heard is she won't be influenced by anybody else. You decided to hire TJ Otzelberger. Now you got to own it. Let's see who you hire for the UNLV football program. I believe it was the right decision to let him go. I don't believe it was the right decision to do it 2 weeks before the season ends. That makes absolutely no sense, and it's one of the most asinine things I've ever seen in my life. Give the man enough respect to tell him after the last game.
Do you think that they had waited until the season was over to fire him, they would have lost to San Jose State?
I don't think that would have anything to do with it. No, I don't think that would have anything to do with it.
You think there was no win-win for the Gipper element about it? You don't think that Tony Sanchez told his players before that San Jose State game? I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to be honest. It's a legitimate question, but I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think she's smart enough to do that. I really don't. I really don't think she's smart enough to think that way. I think she knew that she was going to let him go. The writing was on the wall. Hey, we might as well do it right now, and let's start the process. I believe that was her way of thinking, and I think it was wrong. 257-5396, the number to call, 702-257-5396 if you want to be a part of this discussion. I just cannot believe that article by Ed Grady, who writes he did everything but win. Absolutely ridiculous. Again, that number, 257-5396. All right, we got a friend of the show, a man who wants to chime in on this discussion. Pat Cassell, who did a nice job filling in for me when I was gone. Pat, what's going on? What's up, Pat?
No, it's funny. Brian, I agree with you 100%. I thought the article was ridiculous to sit there and say he did everything but win. It's about winning. I mean, I got to tell you, I think Harbaugh brought in the talent he did in Michigan. He's got to get fired because he can't beat Ohio State. Bottom line is, in 30 years as a resident of Nevada, UNLV's best college football hire may have been John Robinson, and that was, at best, a C+. But when you look at the basketball program, other than Lon Kruger, they have hired a lot of coaches that were just not right for UNLV. I mean, when Tarkanian was here, that program was incredible, and I've seen that program deteriorate to where, like Rutgers football, into the tank.
Can I ask you a question, Pat? Because you've been here a long, and I agree, Pat. Why would Ed Graney say that in his article, that Tony Sanchez did everything here but win? Obviously the support, the fan support, the crowds were way down, and obviously he didn't do a good job recruiting at a high level. Why would he make a statement like that in his article? Because I'm trying to figure out why.
I can honestly say I don't have an answer to that, but I will tell you this: the attendance has always been lousy at UNLV since I'm living here.
Yeah.
They've always drawn flies. Number one. Number two, I don't blame Sanchez for the program being lousy. I blame upper management, the athletic director.
So do I.
This
I agree.
program is, and I'll tell you why I hate it. Because they can't draw flies because nobody wants to play here. Where they played in the toilet bowl was the worst football stadium in the country for Division I football. Until recently, they didn't have facilities to have for exercise facilities for the athletes. Now they've improved that. They did get the money. I sit here and said, like I said last week on the radio, I would have waited the last two games if they won them both, being the fact that they beat Reno third time in 5 years.
Yeah.
I might have given him the first year and see what kind of success he could have recruiting. If he couldn't recruit now to a program that's definitely D1 material, then I would say you got to go.
Pat, listen, man. Pat, listen, man. We are both on the same page here on this one, my friend. And I got to tell you something. It's going to be very interesting to see what type of hire Francois has. Hopefully it's sooner than later. But I appreciate the call, Pat, and I also appreciate you coming in and filling in. You did a fantastic job, and we appreciate that. Can you give me a little bit of trumpet music again, Johnny? I need a little bit of music again. Yeah, I just want to read this amazing love passage by Ed Graney. It's really incredible. Again, this is the article. And by the way, it's sad violin music. I'm sorry. Did I call it trumpet music? I don't know. Anyway, here we go. This is Ed Graney.
You did call it trumpet music.
I want to read this very important passage from this Ed Graney article. There was a trace of water in Sanchez's eyes afterwards, perhaps from the cold weather and perhaps from the magnitude of the moment. He did everything but win at UNLV, setting the program on a path for success. More than anyone else who held his position. This, the lasting image, a game-winning touchdown, his arms raised high in triumph, a smile of joy and closure spread worldwide. Okay, cut the music off. I feel like I'm reading a passage from To Kill a Mockingbird. I mean, is this guy covering sports? What is he doing? Talking about his eyes
his
watering?
His name is Ed Kerouac.
Let me tell you something. My eyes are
the road
watering.
less traveled.
Ed, my eyes are watering just reading your articles. It makes me cry because it's so bad. Let's go back to the phone lines.
Clearly, he wants to be an author.
Yeah, write a novel. Jesus.
Yeah, you're in the wrong industry, Ed.
Yeah, write a novel. 257-5396, the number to call. Let's go to Roberto. Roberto, thanks for calling in. What's on your mind, my friend?
What's up,
How you doing
Roberto?
today?
Good.
Doing great.
Hold on, let me wipe away my tears first, okay? Anyways, I got a problem when they have women who are athletic directors because I don't think they can make the hard choices like a guy can.
Well, here's my response. That's a strong opinion. I will say this, Roberto.
That is pretty aggressive.
I don't care.
Maybe a little sexist.
I don't care what the gender is of the athletic director. What I care about is how they do in their job. There are, Roberto, female athletic directors throughout the country that are very good at what they do. I'm not sure Francois is that person. Time will tell. I wasn't crazy about the TJ Otzelberger hire, particularly when you had many proven winning coaches at much higher levels. And here's the thing, Roberto, that really bothered me about that hire. He is I don't know if you knew this, Roberto, he is the highest paid coach in the Mountain West Conference.
And Roberto, they had a chance to get Mike Miller, who currently is the assistant coach for Memphis, and Penny Hardaway,
they wouldn't even give him an interview.
Who brought in the absolute best recruiting class you've seen in the last 5 years in all of college basketball. He would have taken half the money, and they would have brought back Ryan Miller as his brother as the assistant coach, and they wouldn't even give him an interview.
Go ahead, Roberto.
I got a question. Check it out. But, don't you have to be able to walk in the locker room? Like if you're a guy, you can walk in the locker room and get a feel for what's going on because she can't walk in the locker room.
Or maybe
you know what I'm saying?
Well, unless they have clothes on. You're probably right about that, Roberto.
I thought you get a real feel of what's going on,
Well, we've all seen Major League, so I guess she kind of can.
Roberto, I appreciate the phone call. I do disagree with you a little bit. with the fact that, just because she's a female, she can't do her
that's
job.
a bit over the top.
If you're not good at your job, you're not good at your job. 257-5396, the number to call. Let's go to John. John, thanks for calling in. What's on your mind?
What's up, John?
Hey, what I was thinking is what he meant, Ed, by writing that article was that Sanchez was kind of hired to kind of get the money for the facilities, to get the Fertittas to donate for the facilities.
Well, then my response to that, John, John, I'm not saying you're wrong, by the way, but my response to that is this. As an athletic director, as a university, you shouldn't hire a coach just to try to get facilities. You should hire a coach because you believe he's the right guy to win football games, to turn the program around. And I'm going to tell you something. Lon Kruger brought us the Mendenhall facility. How's that worked out? How's the basketball program done in the last 10 years? The reason why Lon Kruger won is because he's a fantastic basketball coach. It is possible to have a great coach that can also, win games and bring you facilities. Tony Sanchez was not that guy.
I totally agree. But in that respect, like I said, bringing the money, bringing the Fertittas, I think that's what he did. I think that was a positive. Somebody else could have done that and won, but I don't think anybody was going to win with this program. They need more help than just a coach, but coach, facilities, and all that. Hopefully it changes things up.
And listen, John, I respect your opinion, but I think it should start with a good football coach. It shouldn't start with, well, he's going to bring us facilities, and then let's see if he can win. You should hire a coach and I appreciate the call, John. You should be hiring a coach that you believe is going to win first, and then if he can bring the facilities in there and raise some money, then that's fantastic. It is the problem that UNLV Athletics has made for years. They've made bad hires. Dave Rice was a bad hire. Marvin Menzies was a worse hire. Okay, Bobby Houck was a bad hire. Tony Sanchez was a bad hire. You can talk to me all you want about the facilities that he brought because of his relationship with the Fertittas. I disagree. I like Tony Sanchez. In fact, I texted him over the weekend, congratulated him on the win. We had a nice little brief text conversation, and I wished him well. But anyway, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, remember Donald Trump complaining about all the golf that Barack Obama played? Well, we have some stats for you that might blow your mind. Take a quick break. Be back right after this. You are listening to The Vegas Take.